want any recruiter to know is that I'm so much more than just my resume.
LOL! Come on! We both know that all these recruitment platforms are only designed for the companies to get what they want.
They don't care about candidates like us. Not all, buddy. Have you heard of TAG?
Karan Roy, data scientist. Tag score 96%. Interesting.
That's me. And thanks to TAG, now she knows all about my functional, behavioral, technical, and all other relevant skills. TAG indeed is a game changer for me. When I signed up for it, it created this structured, validated, and enriched profile mapped across my numerous skills, knowledge base, and work experience, and created a score. My TAG score. The score and profiling help me present my best professional version to any employer. They can easily find what they need, and if I'm the right fit, my profile shows up instantly. This way, TAG not only helps candidates like me land their dream jobs, but also figure out where they stand amongst their peers and also identify the areas they need to work on.
Wow, this is just the kind of candidate I need. I like how detailed his profile is. Should I even interview this guy?
See, this is how TAG is bringing clarity, communication, and dignity back for us candidates. It also gives me an access to a community of peers, career circles, thousands of jobs, and marquee employers like her to further aid my career growth. Are you kidding me? Did you just get hired within minutes?
A very good evening, friends, and a very warm welcome to each one of you to the Career Circle Live's 8th episode. And thank you so much for joining us. My name is Anshuman Srivastava. I'll be your host for today's session. Career Circle, ladies and gentlemen, is an exclusive talent community by TAG where talented professionals like yourself can interact and connect with industry experts, peers, guides, and other professionals and exchange notes and ideas. Career Circle Live is an edition of such conversations which are open and where we bring the best of the minds in the industry together to share the latest trends, talk about what's happening and what's there in store for future, and so on and so forth. Mostly a very exciting place to be for uh, all of us who are interested in talent or interested in future of skills and careers and so on and so forth. So extremely excited to be hosting this session, and without much ado, without any delay, let's start the episode 8 of Career Circle Live. And it's with my utmost pleasure and excitement that I welcome the HR head of one of the world's largest engineering and automation organization. While I welcome, our topic today would be, while of course we keep talking about talent and where are the jobs and how are things happening in the talent market in different skill sets. Today, we're going to talk about gender diversity and how there are equal and endless opportunities as Siemens in India is driving diversity and inclusion in its workforce. Without much ado, let me welcome Dr. Shilpa Kabra Maheshwari, Executive Vice President and Country Heads People and Organization HR at Siemens, an industry veteran with more than 27 years of experience, bringing extensive experience of human resource, people engagement, and people policy across multitude of sectors and industries. Shilpa, thank you so much for joining us today. Looking forward to a great session ahead.
Thanks, Anshuman. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here with all of you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll start off in the next 50 minutes odd. We'll talk about various opportunities which are there, how industry and in India Incorporate is grappling with gender diversity, what are the opportunities for India as a country, for industry and for Siemens in particular, and what are the opportunities talent has, particularly gendered women talent in a great organization, an iconic brand like Siemens in India. This is going to be an interactive session, friends, so please feel free to jot in your questions, which I would pass on to Shilpa to answer. So let's make it live and interactive. And here's a catch for for all of us. There's a panel of judges, and they will choose the set of best 5 questions, which will get an exciting Amazon voucher. So please keep your thinking hats on, and let's get started. I'm looking forward to an interactive and exciting sessions ahead. Let me start off, Shilpa, with the first and the way we thought we'd structure the conversation is talk about a little bit about the imperative of diversity and a gender diverse workforce for a country like India, particularly given the fact that India has relatively lesser, about 27% of the women in the labor force. What is your view on the opportunity for a more diverse workforce for India, and how why is it so important?
So, Anshuman, actually, you've picked up a very relevant topic, and since the topic is only gender diversity, I would probably stick to answering your question around gender diversity. However, diversity as a topic is much more wider and varied, right? And in different circles, we are talking about diversity beyond gender, whether it is age, region, religion, sex, community. I think for the purpose of today's discussion, let's focus on gender diversity. I
Absolutely.
think diversity, in my view, is no longer a mandate, right? And why I say a mandate, over the last couple of years, we've been seeing organizations continuously invest in this whole agenda. Some have done by force, some have done by choice, including the boards have mandated to have women at the highest level. Going forward, it's no longer a mandate, it's actually become a hygiene factor. And why I say a hygiene factor? Because research, time and again, has proven the advantages of having diversity in the workforce, from creating caring organizations to creating more collaborative work environments to creating higher productivity measures, as well as creating that diversity of thought. What a woman can bring in is very different from what a man can bring in. From what a younger generation can bring in is very different from what an experienced generation can bring in. Having said that, I think women have certain advantages naturally. One, of course, they are born in environments and ecosystems where they have to play multiple roles, whether it's a mother, whether it's a wife, whether it's a daughter, or whether it's a working woman, right? I mean, the ability to multitask and deliver on multiple roles and multiple goals. I think that's one of the advantages organizations want to and would like to leverage on. The other aspect is the way they think about things is never straight line. And I say this more out of being a woman rather than, and no offense to men sitting out there, but I think the ability, because they work in such disconnected environments and in different situations, their ability to see concepts or see things very differently from different perspectives is a huge advantage, and a hidden advantage which organizations can take leverage of and want to do that. Third, as we know, the world is moving towards a lot of well-being, being more empathetic as organizations, creating that happiness and purpose within organizations. I think the right blend of different generations, the right blend of men and women, I think is a natural advantage. Today, we know most organizations are lopsided. And when I say lopsided, the gender balance ratio is not equal. While some organizations have done great work around it, we know about Unilever and we know about some other organizations which are aiming and have achieved 50% this thing. So I think there are definitely some advantages of having women strongly in the workforce. Are we there yet? Probably not. Though we've seen over the last couple of years, 9, 10 years, where we were about 8% in the workforce women. Today we are about 16% or 17%.
Right.
Manufacturing is worse off, while we're seeing more on the consumer side, the retail side, the services side. I think manufacturing is still hit hard. We began from about 6, 7% in the last couple of years with more intensive effort. We're still around 12%. I think, but 12% is far away from the 100% numbers we look in a workforce. We've seen some of the organizations do excellent work, but most of the organizations today are committed, at least by intent, if not action, to make this happen. And of course, from a global perspective, the whole goes around our SDG, the UN goals of sustainable development and diversity and inclusion. I think it's an imperative. It's going to be part of your life. We can't live without it, and it definitely has certain advantages out there.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. Companies like Unilever, like you mentioned, have done phenomenal work, and I'm sure there are other pockets of excellence. Nothing better than having a very diverse workforce. like I said, India unfortunately has a very low. If I look at Europe, or for that matter, closer home, China also more than 55-60% women participate in the labor workforce. Any thoughts, Shilpa, and what can India incorporate, academia, or policy makers for that matter, do to improve and this gender diversity, build a more diverse Indian workforce, Shilpa?
I think it's a huge task ahead of us, and because one, it starts from a social context. All of us know when we have kids or girls in the family, we start by looking at a Barbie doll for a girl and a car for a boy, right? It's the blue and the pink dilemma always, right? So one,
Always.
it starts at home. How are we viewing parity at home? How are we actually building those ecosystems right from home? And then comes those career stages when you enter into education. While again, like I said, services are doing better off, but we still find a miserable workforce in engineering specializations, especially the hardcore manufacturing sector, whether it's electrical, whether it's mechanical. Choices are less because the conditions of those, I would say, jobs and roles don't seem to be too attractive. Secondly, the whole notion about those jobs and roles being dull. And I go back to the fact that it's like mathematics. Is it always a boy's subject or is it a girl's subject? Because the way we are taught mathematics is we've never been taught to love mathematics the way it is taught,
Correct.
right? So I think there's, from a policy perspective, from an industry perspective, I think those roles are equally important. While agriculture contributes to a large part of GDP, we all know manufacturing is the essential core. How do we kind of give enough mandate to drive those sectors through a women workforce? There are policies that need to be shaped around. The third part, of course, is how do we get every organization to put into those policies and practices the way we've defined that the board must have some women, right? I don't think we have a metric or measure which gauges or holds organizations accountable the way we hold them accountable for CSR 2% contribution or
Yeah.
board, right? There is a lot of work for us to do. Government is leading the way. We've seen some of the key positions now going to women. I think it's a matter of time, but success breeds success, right? So the more women we see, the more we espouse for this cause, the more policies we get embedded into our ways of living, and the whole social thread will change. Probably two generations later, we're not even going to talk about diversity or inclusiveness. It's going to be given. So.
It's going to be inclusive. Absolutely. And the economic imperatives also, Shilpa. I keep thinking, I mean, if you don't productively use 75% of the women workforce, you're actually not adding to the economic GDP also in that way. So the economic imperative, needless to say, it may sound repetitive, but at the risk of double clicking a bit, but what do you see as the key challenges in India? You did dwell upon some of it in your last two observations, but what are the typical challenges that India Incorporate has in attracting and retaining women talent, retention in particular?
So I think a couple of, I would call, natural challenges. One is women have different milestones in their life and their careers, right? Which at those milestones, if they don't get the adequate support systems, they tend to kind of waver and choose alternate paths. And those alternate paths could be as simple as taking care of a family or kind of doing a job at home or doing something which is very unconventional and not mainstream work, right? So I think while we talk about the glass ceiling that we don't have enough opportunities for women, and are we creating enough roles for women at organizations level, the bigger challenge is the leaky floor, right? While women enter, and we've seen multiple efforts of organizations, including Siemens, where we try to get more lateral hires at the graduate engineer, the fresher hires at the graduate entry level. But over a period of 5 years or 7 years, when they get married, when they have kids or spouses are moving, there is a natural fallout of women there. Second is, today we really don't know whether what roles we want to aspire for. How many of the organizations have gender equity targets? One, and even if they have, how consciously are they driving and striving to achieve that? That is a bigger problem. The gap between intent and action is very visible in the industry. The third part is, which is very, very unknown yet subtle, is the unconscious bias. And the unconscious bias may not be a reflection of a conscious bias, but it's somewhere it gets so much deeply played and interplayed in organization dynamics. And let me give you an example. Um, I was having a conversation with a group of young GTs, and I asked, and one of the girls said, "I want to go and work on a project site, but my manager says, it's too hard for you." It's a simple topic, but the choice is of the girl or the woman, right?
Yeah.
Many managers may be doing it out of goodwill or by the whole orientation of taking care of them, or the fact that why put them in uncomfortable situation. I think these are examples of unconscious biases we need to break in organizations to get this whole agenda going. And most important, the tone from the top. Unless you don't have leadership driving it, whatever you may do, it won't really go down to the grassroots level. You need to have commitment, you need to have policies, you need to have action, and you need to have governance. What gets measured gets done. If you're not talking
Exactly.
about it and you're not tracking it, it's not going to
It won't be.
get done. And the needle has to move, right? This is just a way of making the needle move.
No, absolutely. What gets measured gets growth automatically. Otherwise, we will keep. So, what's happening at Siemens, Shilpa, in terms of how is Siemens? I know overall diversity, in particular, gender diversity is a very core objective in Siemens India. So, what's happening in Siemens, and what is Siemens India doing to attract and build a more inclusive workforce?
I think I would put it in two perspectives. One is very transparently, have we achieved what we intend to achieve? I think we are still in the journey. It's going to take a
Mhm.
little longer because we also come from a very manufacturing environment, and the demand and supply gap is always a question which is debatable, right? Do we have enough women who we can build into the workforce, because we've got electrical engineers, we've got mechanical engineers, right? So the demand and supply gap is natural. So we are working towards it. Of course, a lot of things we're clubbing and kind of focusing on. One is all of policies and practices are geared and tuned to encourage women to join us, stay with us, and continue with us. We've got a hybrid work environment policy where 3 days a week you can work from home or more if you desire to, as long as you can deliver. Align it with your manager and decide how you want to deliver. At the end of it, we look at the output, we don't look at the input, right? That's number one. Number two, we have better than industry practices maternity leaves, much beyond what the law stipulates. And we provide all the career support systems for women who want to come back after extended maternity breaks if they want to do. We've got childcare support, we've got extended leaves, we've got reboot programs, we've got coaching programs, and reboot is essentially right from the cradle to the crib kind of story. The moment you are on your maternity path, the support system. So I think I don't want to talk about the basic hygiene policies because we've moved beyond that. But Siemens is trying, and we have achieved to a great extent, an environment where women can be themselves, right? We've got a very inclusive environment. The managers are oriented, trained, and made aware of the fact that women are in the workforce not as women but as individuals. I think that's a big thing. So when there is talking play at the same level, an organization has moved away or beyond the diversity agenda. Third is, we as an organization are very caring, right, and very accommodative. So we create that environment where even women can raise up their hands and say, "Look, I want a career change, and this will not be looked down upon." We encourage initiative. Most of the time, women in the workforce don't raise up their hands to say, "Look, I want that job," or "I think I'm suitable." Right? It's most probably shunned down. We encourage that and we drive that. Fourth, we have put in metrics for ourselves where two of them are very key for us. How many women are we getting at the managerial level, right? Is that better than the market? And second is the number of hirings we are doing both at the entry and lateral level. So any position first has to be justified why you don't have a CV of a lady candidate at the table selection is secondary, right? I mean, we select on merit and criteria, and we don't want women to feel that they've been selected as women candidates just because they're women. Merit drives it, but our effort is to give them a level playing field, get them at the table, and offer the opportunities. And most important, we have top leadership commitment and governance on this whole topic. So I think we haven't lost the women's we brought into the workforce. We are building on the number. And I'm proud to say, we haven't had any grievances or any cases where we need to get into to say that Siemens is not a place for women. We're proud of that fact.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks so much for that answer. Campus and campus hiring is particularly a very also an important agenda where let's say you look at talent and particularly young talent that you can nurture for future positions. How's been your experience of hiring young women leaders from campuses? And I know that it's been a focused area for Siemens last few years, but how's been experience? Anything for the academia for all of us to hear from you on that?
So we aim to hire 50% of our entry hiring is women, and that's a target we've set for ourselves across all the fields, right? We have been doing considerably well, around 45-47% is the target we achieve year on year. Consciously, we go to a lot of women exclusive colleges where we hire from. We also go to a lot of tier two colleges for women candidates, not from uh, hardcore campus presence, but we do believe that sometimes talent does exist in different colleges or different regions which are in close proximity to some of our locations. Because we also believe in the long term, if a woman has to say stay, she would be happy to be around a common or a comfortable social contact. So I think we've done very good on the numbers. It's again a business agenda more than a HR agenda that they need to get people. We are driving a program, what we call a Siemens Technical Academy, where our participants are, again, we aim to get more than 30%, 40% women in that. We run a Siemens scholarship program, which is again a external program for women in colleges and engineering fields. Again, we aim to have 50% of those students as part of our program. So there are a lot of efforts. So far, we've done pretty good. I can't say honestly in the future how it'll look like, but I think we're proud to the fact that we've made the intent and we are moving in that direction.
Absolutely certain of that. Uh, as young talents and particularly women talent is listening to you, what kind of career and growth opportunities in terms of skills and where does the glass ceiling lie? And you can maybe want to answer the question in terms of what kind of growth opportunity are there for a young engineering or a management or a graduate, so on and so forth. Shilpa. So overall, for women in particular and for talent, what kind of growth opportunities are there in Siemens India?
So, Anshuman, in Siemens, we do not differentiate between men and women. So, whatever is available to men in terms of career and growth opportunities is equally available to a woman. We've got a very
Sure.
active external hiring program, and we also have a very active internal mobility program. And we've got a system which we call Avatar, where each and every position from top to bottom is advertised, completely transparent. Everybody gets to apply irrespective of gender. You go through a process. If you qualify, you get selected. If you don't qualify, you're given a feedback on why you're not selected and what more you need to develop your skills and what more you could do. Having said that, 32% of our internal positions are filled through internal mobility, right? So our best people are always moving after every 2.5, 3 years, 2 years, right? Career growth as a conversation is a very common topic, very open topic. So we've got a concept which we call growth talk. We don't have a rating system at the year end. We don't evaluate people on numbers, but we have a growth talk where we discuss expectations, performance, a dialogue, and the entire discussion is focused around career growth and development, right? And most often it's a very transparent discussion where the employee says, I've done this role for 2 years, what next for me? Right? And it's an open conversations. Could you look at this opportunity? Could you look at, and then it's a mutual discussion. So it's very well accepted that you don't have to stay in a role for a longer period of time. And Siemens has that opportunity with varied businesses, location. People have the opportunity to move different roles within one organization. So that also helps people to grow and for us also to leverage on the competence which has been built over years. So I think that's one important side. What kind of skills do we look at, and what kind of talents do we believe are going to help us in the future? Two or three things, because Siemens is evolving from an industrial organization to an industrial tech organization. That means slowly, somehow, we are integrating our manufacturing footprint into the technology world. And we believe that in the next 5, 7 years, the likes of Amazon, Facebook, Google would be our competitor. Having said that, what we do look at is, as in hygiene, is functional expertise. We've got great functional experts in the organization. I think that is a given. If you're not
Okay.
strong conceptually and
Yes.
competence wise, the gate doesn't open. But apart from that, that has to be complemented with leadership skills. That has to be
Mhm.
complemented with your ability to think very differently. And when I say differently,
Mhm.
not only from a cognitive aspect, but the ability to problem solve, the ability to think 360 degree on perspectives, the ability to work collaboratively. We've got a way of working where we need to collaborate, align with local stakeholders, global stakeholders. We are a matrix organization, heavily matrix organization, with Germany as headquarters, working with different regions, right? Now, how do we work as teams in different regions? Can we collaborate? Can we influence while being rational, data driven to get our point across? I think these are some of the qualities we look at. Also, for talents which aspire to go for global roles, cultural adaptiveness, the ability to network, and executive presence are additional qualities that are important.
Got it. Absolutely, very nicely mentioned these things. And as a young talent, Shilpa, if you're listening to you, apart from the thing that you mentioned, basics, what kind of attitudes or behaviors are precious to women, which you think helps uh, talent do better?
I think we look at the attitude to learn, right? Continuous learning, and the ability to quickly learn. Learning agility is important. Second, we look for growth mindset, and when I say growth mindset, it's about not looking at things from a fixed perspective, but finding those endless possibilities. Whether it is in terms of the way you solve a problem, or whether it is in terms of your own career growth or training and learning. Thirdly, I think we also look at somebody who has the confidence and the ability to work in a diverse organization like Siemens and work with very, very different stakeholders at the top or the at the lower level, because we are a very open organization. I mean, anybody can walk across to anybody in the leadership team, go and we encourage all that, right? Networking is what we encourage. Crossing hierarchies is what we encourage. So somebody who can navigate and is confident to come and give that elevator pitch, we are happy to look at those candidates.
Wonderful. To all of us listening, I think precious points for us to make a note. Shilpa, you did mention about Siemens evolving from an engineering to an industrial tech organization. So, what are do you believe are the skills of the future? Or let's say, if I'm a young talent, I'm looking for career opportunity in Siemens. What's the future jobs is going to be like in Siemens?
I think the roles of today will definitely evolve in the near future, right? And digital or tech is going to be an integral part, right? Not all of us will probably be required to be hardcore coders or AI experts or cybersecurity experts, but in the different roles we play and in the different the job families we are, one is, do we have that orientation towards technology? Do we understand and can we relate to? I think many times we find that while we may not need it hardcore in our delivery day to day, but our own ability to work with different streams, integrate and understand technology and different developments in technology is extremely important. That is number one. Number two, because it is going to be a digital and tech environment, the importance of data is very high, right? Anything you do will revolve around data. The way you look at data, you analyze, you interpret, you present. Data is going to be fundamental lever. So our own competence and our own comfort with data, right? We don't need to be maths experts, But can we see that through those numbers? Can we see through those data? Can we make sense out of that data, right? That is going to be extremely important. Number three, because we are in an evolving world and we are in an evolving talent market, most of the time we have an inside in perspective, right?
Mhm.
We are happy, we are comfortable in our own comfort zones, right? The ability to be uncomfortable continuously and to get that outside in perspective is going to be very, very important, right? Can we look outside? Can we bring those practices? Can we learn from each other? Fourth is continuous learning. There is
Mhm.
no one in this world who can survive, and the world is not about years or 2 years or 5 years. I think it's about the next day, it's about 3 months or 4 months. And you have to continuously learn if you need to be resilient and relevant for the future. If not, the ones who are relevant will probably take the edge away from you.
Absolutely. Continuous learning outside and etc. Extremely important for all of us to understand. I'm a student, I'm studying or I'm a young career professional. There are ways in which my academics trains me. There are ways in which my jobs trains me. Anything else, Shilpa, you'd advise talent listening to you that how do I prepare myself uh, for the thing that you just mentioned? How do I prepare myself? Academics will always give you a few things. How do I prepare myself?
So I think, see, one, if you're a student, of course, know your subject well, right? Functional expertise is not
You
going to go
mentioned
away. But I
correct.
think it's important to get those real life practical experiences. Try to get
Hmm.
projects, try to get internships, try to work with mentors, right? Even if it is pro bono, the diversity of experiences will add to your
Very
knowledge
important.
and to your career path, right? Imagine two people sitting at the desk for an interview. Somebody comes purely with an academic background, somebody comes with an academic background plus exposure to real life applications and learnings. There is a natural choice to
Yes.
make. Third is, if you are already in an organization, you've spent 3 to 5 years of careers, I think growing this way is no longer the rule, right? I think we all need to grow laterally. Most of the times, I hear from a younger generation, when is my next promotion? I spent 2 years, 3 years. How do I grow up? I think the earlier on career in the first 10 years, if you start getting those lateral exposures, do different things and add collectively, this will come to you naturally. There's no way that this will not come to you. So get involved in different things, whether it relates to you or doesn't relate to you. I'm trying to learn green energy and hydrogen today, right? It doesn't relate to HR at all. But
Correct.
just as an example, I'm trying to learn UI and UX, though it doesn't relate to me. I don't want to be a coder, but I know when
Mhm.
I'm going to go and talk to talent, when I sit in those conversations with the businesses, when I'm going to interview people, this is my orientation to technology. If I don't understand a full stack developer, I probably can't even understand the needs and the nuances. So I think go beyond your own domain as well. Go beyond your own comfort zone, and the more real life experiences and exposures you can get. And third, most important, network, right? Network doesn't mean going and asking for favors, but network also means learning from each other. Peer learning, right? Putting up your hand to say, can I be involved? Can I spend my time? At times, it may be a stretch for you. But I think what that adds is aggregate learning over years and your natural path to success and your career.
Thanks so much. Great answer. We have a question from the audience, Shilpa. Is there any option of relocations within Siemens available due to family reasons? I'm sure there would be.
Yes, absolutely. Siemens is very flexible. I think we got one of the best transfer policies in the industry, both in
Mhm.
terms of support systems and, of course, the financial support we give. We have moved people for reasons, family reasons, medical reasons. We have enabled people to find roles in different locations. Today, with a flexible work environment, we have people who are working away from their locations and still managing the job. So absolutely, we have a very, very flexible policy for relocation.
Someone had asked a question: How important is it develop a personal brand for career growth?
It's a good question. See, I don't know how you perceive personal brand. Personal brand can be a name, right? Like a Ram Charan, we always used to say is the guru of strategy. But in the new
Strategy.
environment, personal brand is what are your skills? What are you strong on, right? I think that is the personal branding. If you can demonstrate to any organization what you bring to the table in terms of skills and competence and value add is the branding, irrespective of people knowing you individually. And gone are the days when you can only live to be functional experts or only one expertise, right? I mean, the landscape is evolving, continuously changing. I think if you can work on those aspects, they would be natural branding for success.
We have another question, I think, from we so much hearing about biases at workplaces that hinders promotion or internal movement. How do you suggest we navigate such a situation?
So this is a question I'm most often asked, and I have a very simple answer to this. One is ignore it, right? And when I say ignore it, to the extent that you are in there as a woman because you want to be there, right? And any situation can be a biased situation for a man and women equally, right? There's no perfect world we're living in. Second is don't treat yourself as a woman in the workflows. If you are putting yourself as a woman, there will be a natural tendency to put you in a frame of lens. The moment you can bring yourself to the workplace as an individual, there is no question of a bias, right? And third is do something about it, right? Like I gave you an example, if you believe that you're being biased by not getting a opportunity to go to a project site or not getting a sales job, raise your hand and say, look, I can do this and I can do this equally well, give me an opportunity. I think that is the only way. Nobody will come and handhold and push people to say, do away with the biases. Biases can be in closed rooms, biases can be in open rooms, right? It may come to you, it may not come to you, but at the end of it, if you want to succeed, you have to make it happen for yourself and do it respectfully. I think organizations and individuals appreciate that.
Correct, correct. Fourth question, I think you've already answered that. What kind of role women can explore in a setup such as Siemens? I think you're all roles as good as
All
that.
rules. Yes, all rules.
Absolutely. Shilpa, while the next set of questions comes in, been so many years that in the industry, what are the very common career mistakes that you would advise us to look out for?
Uh, I think from a women perspective, from a diversity perspective, I would say raise your hand, which most women don't do. We are shy as a community and naturally to put forward our pitch, right? I think that is one career mistake most women make. Second is we don't network well enough, right? And that could be multiple ways or multiple reasons. But find those peers, those mentors, those buddies, and even if it is two or three, it doesn't have to be a whole group of people. People who are your support system within the corporate environment who can advise you, guide you, direct you, be your support system, right? That is another important. And third is most often I've seen we don't continuously learn, right? And this is not only for women, but for men, women, everybody out there. Unless you're continuously learning and evolving on the next level, while you may be great experts on your career or your field, keep a track of what's happening next in the industry, right? Stay ahead of the curve. If you can be ahead of the curve, I think you will have much more advantage in terms of career growth.
Yeah, this question come up skills for succeeding in the manufacturing industry today. I think you spoke at length about it.
All
Anything
the
else to
skills
addition?
I spoke about, right? All of this because manufacturing is also changing, right?
Correct.
You got IoT, you got Industry 4.0, right? And
Yeah,
that's going to be the future of manufacturing. Gone are the days when you used to do quality controls with a gauge, right? A caliper and all. I think we're moving to automated sensors, red eyes, etc. So all the skills I spoke about are equally relevant for manufacturing.
absolutely. Any advice? Lot of young talent, like I said, typically hearing you. Any advice that you have for anything beyond what you just spoke?
Um, I did talk about a lot of things, but I think it's important. One is don't cast yourself in stone, right? And when I say that, I think we are all have our own comfort zones about some areas what we like to do, some kind of organization we want to work with, or some kind of perceptions we carry about career growth or promotions, compensation, career breaks. I think it's important to be free flowing in your early career years. Experiment, dabble, learn. It's all about learning. What you learn in the first 5 years is going to shape a lot of your way forward. Number two, I think what we normally think is that we will learn on only the job we do, right? While that contributes a great amount to learning, but in the new ecosystem with so many extended partners and so many extended interfaces, we will learn much more in the ecosystem. So expand your ecosystem and learn from that ecosystem. Third is always keep a growth mindset. There's nothing which I call as impossible. There is always possibilities. The moment you believe this can't happen, or the moment you believe this is only what I can do, or this is what I should do, I think the should and the cans and the words should go out of the dictionary. It's always about possibilities. That would be my career advice to most of the people listening on this call.
Yeah. Somebody's asking, is Siemens hiring now? I can answer that, but she'll try.
Yes, Siemens is hiring, and we are hiring very actively across domains. Of course, for our tech business, we have more hirings happening, which is called the Advanta business and Siemens Technology. Having said that, we continuously are expanding, growing. We're doing very well as an organization in terms of business growth, in terms of economy. So there are always openings in Siemens across different functions, different job families, different locations. So please, if you're interested, go and check out our website, LinkedIn posting, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any last questions, or else I can wrap up the session. And friends, I mean, like Shilpa said, there's a multitude of opportunities in Siemens. We have across technology, engineering. Go to the website, register there. I mean, there are enough for any cross-functional skill set that you may bring to the table, and I'm sure there will be enough. You'll hear very soon from Siemens. Any other questions, or else I can move towards the end? Uh, Shilpa, thank you so much for your time and joining us today and sharing your views. And thank you to all the audiences for joining us and asking us some of the questions that you did. I'm super excited to know who the lucky five winners would be. We did get a lot of questions, but I think we filtered and created a set of common threads for Shilpa to answer. But you will be hearing from us soon in terms of who are the lucky five winners. Friends, this is just the beginning, and there are more exciting sessions on way, both on future of talent, what kind of opportunities are there, on diversity and gender diversity as well. Please do stay in touch with us, and for any details, reach out to us to careers@tag.in. Just one thing more, in case you missed out asking a question, you can still write back to us, and we'll request Shilpa to answer that question via a mail or a message, and we'll settle back to you. Thank you so much, everyone, and for your time, and have a great weekend. And this is Anshuman and Shilpa signing off for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.